You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Night of the Horror File.
Dun, 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 dun,
2022. Hopefully this
Shut
year
the
doesn't
fuck.
suck ass too. I rhyme two with two just to see Brittany's rage.
I hate when people rhyme things with the same fucking word. You can't rhyme a word with the same word.
Oh, it's very lazy. It's very lazy writing. Welcome to the first episode, by the way, of 2022. This is our first. We're coming in. We're coming into 2022. We're coming in 2022.
You can stop.
We're just
saying
here
that.
in 2022. I hope everybody's enjoying 2022.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm just astonished that I lived this long. I really thought we'd be dead by now. You know.
You know who's
I really
dead?
Yes, I do know who's dead. I do know who's dead. Fucking
R.I.P.
America's grandma died. Basically, all of our grandmas died, so we are all in a state of mourning.
I'm sorry that your grandma died. Did you see that TikTok I sent you?
Yes. I'm not a TikTok person, so I don't understand the joke.
Oh, I should have told you the joke.
Anyway, welcome to Night of the Horror File. That's right, a horror movie and genre film podcast where I take a horror movie and genre film and show it to my beautiful wife, Brittany, who then gives us her input. And sometimes she hates these things, sometimes she loves them. Now, last year.
Last week.
Last week.
Yesterday
Was last year. But for December, we did a Tarantino Christmas. And, I'm sure some of you were like, oh, it's finally over. We're going to get to I don't know,
Horror
Sleepaway
movies.
Camp 4 or something like that. It's going to be wonderful. And it's like, no. No. Welcome to a Tarantino New Year.
Man, I would like to see our views.
I know. I bet they're tanking. I stopped looking at the numbers a long time ago. I think we're just doing this for fun at this point.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Here's the thing, when you're running a podcast, what is the point of trying to compete with all these other people? What do you got? You got Joe Rogan. You got major celebrities doing podcasts now. What are you going to do? What are you going to, we can't compete with that.
Nope. That's okay though.
Yeah. So we're just fucking around and having fun on this show. We're having a good time, and we're turning out quality because that's just how I am. I'm kind of a quality Nazi, but
We got some new mic stands.
I know we got new mic stands. It's a glorious year. It's a glorious start of the year, and it's a glorious start to a Tarantino New Year. That's right. We are ringing in the new year with what we're doing here today is part 1 of our Tarantino little mini series, a docu-series, if you will. We're going to be discussing Tarantino's life and the person himself, a little bit of his life, more about his inspirations and we're just going to be talking about Tarantino these next 2 weeks.
Okay.
So enjoy yourself. Sit back and enjoy. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm pretty excited.
Me too. Last fucking December was so much fun. It was so much fun, and I'm expecting, because this isn't the first time we've done something like this, these miniseries.
Yeah.
But we're doing a little backwards here. We're kind of doing it to where Brittany has seen the movies, and now we're talking about the director himself.
Right.
And I wonder if that helps you grasp some of the stuff. Maybe you have some jokes. Maybe you have a few more questions than you normally do. I think we're going to have a good time.
I think so. I'm ready to have a good time.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure everybody's tired of me talking. Well, motherfuckers, you're going to have to sit down and listen to me talk a lot today. This is, It's good. It's good, though. Doing a director highlight this time around is a little different because this is a director that's, I've mentioned it once or twice that he's on my top list.
Right.
I love all movies, like any movie. I just love movies. Even those rom-coms I keep putting down because I can't remember them. Those are movies, so it's awesome. But like Tarantino's work really has been the biggest inspiration on me.
Oh, yeah.
Like for me and my art, which nobody knows what my art is yet.
Do you know what your art is?
Movies. I'm writing stories and stuff right now. I mean, I'm in the pre-stages, you can't just fucking come
Write a
out of
movie.
it. Write a movie and go for it. I gotta shop around, get some stories and stuff. Really put my time into this. But which by the way, on a podcast one time, they said I was an artist.
Are you an artist?
I guess I'm an artist. I didn't know. That's cool, man. That's cool. Thank you. But no, Tarantino's been a huge inspiration on me growing up and stuff like that. And he himself has introduced me to so many good movies over the year. A lot of what I know about and a lot of the movies that I've watched that a lot of people are probably like, well, why the fuck did you see that? That's because of Tarantino, Either you latch onto these movies or you don't.
Okay.
You either love these movies or you just don't fucking care. I've never met a middle of the road, it's okay kind of person on Tarantino.
Okay.
Like
I could see that.
Yeah, I have met people who like some movies better than the others, There seems to be it seems to be split down the middle. Like you have people who are like, why can't he just go back to doing stuff like Pulp Fiction? And then you have people like me who are just like, just the next movie, please, sir. Just toss me the next one and you can have my money. But I don't know. A lot of people find this stuff a little too slick, a little too cool. A lot of the dialogue gets on their nerves. They say it's the characterization is getting taken over by the dialogue. The common complaints that we talked about last month.
But I don't understand that because it tells the story. Do you not want to get the story told to you?
Well, I think people get confused when they go into a Tarantino movie and because they just expect the mindless action, which the action is there. The action and violence is very much there in a Tarantino film.
Oh,
but the dialogue is what gives you the meat of the story. And a lot of the magic stuff happens in the dialogue. Yeah.
So why would you not want that? I don't know.
I don't know. But you might not know a lot about the man himself, and his influences. So let's jump in our way back time machine.
We have a time machine?
We have a time machine. And no, I'm just joking. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to make noises. There's no sound effects here. But we're going to travel back to the early 60s. So Quentin Tarantino was born on March 27th, 1963 in Knoxville, Tennessee. So some of you guys who listen to us in Tennessee, that's right. The man himself is from your home state. You know anybody from Tennessee?
No.
I know one person who's from Tennessee but doesn't actually live in Tennessee. I don't know anybody in Tennessee, but Tennessee is home to a lot of good stuff. Like The Evil Dead was shot in Tennessee. The first Evil Dead, Sam Raimi.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So there's things that happen there. Okay.
I love how I do that, not thinking that I just basically said stuff happens in a state sometimes. I think it's because I don't know anything about our state.
Because nothing happens.
I barely know anything about my home state that I've never moved away from. I know zilch.
Barely traveled away from.
I know Killer at Lake, or what was that? The Murder at Lake Tenkiller or something. This shitty old movie was shot at Lake Tenkiller. That's the only bit of trivia I know.
And we don't even go to Lake Tenkiller.
No, that lake is, I don't know. So it's too far out. I don't know.
Where is it?
I don't know. I don't like traveling around Oklahoma. This place sucks. Anyway. Now he was born to Connie McCove, and I'm mispronouncing that last name. It's very weird. McCoo, I think, or McCah. She's of Cherokee Irish descent.
Okay.
So it's probably Maca or something like that. And Italian-American Tony Tarantino. Now, Connie met Tony when she was on a trip to Los Angeles, where Tony was a law student, but also an aspiring actor. Now, I say aspiring, but he mostly failing.
Oh,
He
damn.
was failing to get there. It actually wouldn't be until Quentin made a name for himself that Tony would even pop up in a blurb. We'll talk about him in the next episode, because he does show back up in Quentin Tarantino's life. The two met and married, Connie and Tony, and Connie mostly so she could become emancipated at 16
Oh, damn.
to go to college in LA. And Tony, of course, told Connie that he was sterile. I'm sure.
Oh, man.
I'm sure you've all heard that once or twice.
Man. I can't have kids. Has 17 kids.
What the fuck is the deal with that? Why is that? Why? Like, why? Why are you? I get it, so you can gush, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you can go inside that. But really, man, you just wait a little while. She could get on birth control, and you guys could do that.
Right.
That's a little safer, you know. What the fuck? Anyway, so he told her he was sterile, and which 10 movies in, we know is a fucking lie. So she furiously divorced him, and that's where Tony's section of our story ends early on. Like I said, he pops back up. Now, Connie moved back to Tennessee with her mother and father, having Quentin, name taken from a CBS show, Gunsmoke. On that show, Burt Reynolds played a bit part named Quint Asper, and that's where Quentin comes from.
Okay.
Yeah. Tarantino would keep his father's name later in life only because, in his words, it just sounded cool.
Right.
He did say if he could do it again, he probably wouldn't keep the last name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because which one is harder to say, Tarantino or McHugh? I think it's McHugh.
McHugh, because I can't even pronounce it.
Yeah, I think it's
Go
McHugh.
look it up, you guys, if you want to. I'm going to butcher these names. You know I always do that, everybody.
It's true.
Yeah. Tarantino does sound fucking cool.
Yeah.
I understand keeping that name, but I also kind of understand hating someone who just fucking leaves you for 30 years only to pop back up when you're successful. Now, at the age of 4, Tarantino and his mother moved back to Los Angeles, where Quentin would develop a love for film at a very young age. Very young. Tarantino was one of these kids who, not that he didn't have friends, but like most of the time he was an only child. So all he would do is watch TV and movies. That was his love. And one of his earliest memories is of his grandmother taking him to a John Wayne movie.
Oh, wow.
Which back then I wonder what John Wayne it was. Like which movie? Maybe McClintock or something like that. Anyway, I'm very excited. But yeah, he grew up in front of the silver screen and in front of the television screen, and he wrote a lot. His writing skills began at an early age as well. His mother even saying that he would write her stories. And Connie, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, said, he wrote me sad Mother's Day stories where he would kill me every time. And then he'd tell me how bad he felt about it. It would bring a tear to a mother's eyes.
Wow. Okay.
Man. How
That
many
doesn't make me feel so bad about our psychotic children.
Right. At least they're not writing you stories where you die every single time.
Well, not yet.
You got to wonder, like, I wish some of this would had survived. Like, maybe we could read it later on. Like, I wonder what that's like. Young
yeah.
Tarantino. I wonder how many motherfuckers were in that script. Sorry. Now, not long. Was there feet shots in those two?
Probably not.
Probably not. Oh, shit.
Because he
Oh,
won't
God.
talk about it now. He ain't talking about it then.
But now, not long after getting back to Los Angeles, Connie married musician Curtis Zastapil. And it was Zastapil who really encouraged Quentin's love of movies. Zastapil took him to tons of fucking films. And his mother was dating and stuff like that. And he said one time, he never really connected with anyone but Zastapil. He considers him his stepdad. There was one guy that she brought home for a date. And he was like, well, does he only likes movies? Does he like football? He like football? He likes movies about football. Which at this time, I think it would have been the Longest Yard he may have been watching with Burt Reynolds. Yeah. Anyway, But he was allowed to watch. He was also allowed to watch movies with tons of adult content, like 1972's Deliverance. He remembers seeing that in the theaters, not really understanding what was happening to poor Warren Beatty at the time.
Right.
Which, the same thing with me. I got to watch Deliverance at I think I was 9.
Oh wow.
When I watched Deliverance, didn't know what they were doing to the poor man. I just thought they were making him squeal like a pig.
Right.
Which kind of is the point of that. It's not really a sexual scene.
Right.
Like the point is domination. Like what's the worst way you could dominate a man is just fuck him in the asshole, you know?
Right.
I think that's the worst way. Unless you're asking for it, then that's consensual. That's just a good Friday night. But
oh, I cannot with you.
I think I saw that over at my cousin's house.
Oh, you would have.
Mm-hmm.
Your fucking cousin's house.
Dude, I stayed up. Okay, so we didn't really have cable much when I was younger. But my cousins did. So I would stay over at their house for the cable TV. They were a bunch of dipshits with a booger wall and everything. But no, actually, I loved my cousins, but
and their booger wall,
and they're not very much their booger wall. I refused to sleep near the booger wall, but I did stay up after they had gone to sleep. That was my favorite time. Is because I'd be able to turn on the TV, and they had cable. It might have been illegal, but they had cable, and I could watch all these fucking movies I didn't get to watch in uncut. You're watching HBO late at night, seeing all this shit.
Ooh, you saw all the sexy bits.
You get to see boobies and all sorts of shit. That's one of the first times I ever caught Monster Vision,
Nice.
which before Joe Bob. This was during the the Penn and Teller time. I got to see a little bit of that, and then I'd find Joe Bob later on in life. We told the whole story on that a long time ago on an episode. But anyway, that was my favorite time, just watching all these movies. But Zastapil and Connie got divorced not long. But it was after Connie was misdiagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Tarantino was then sent back to live with his grandparents in Tennessee for less than a year, and then back to California he went. So poor Tarantino is getting thrown all around,
Oh.
But also kind of during this time, you gotta think, he's growing up with the real Don Steele on radio and stuff like that. He's listening to all these radio stations in LA, but also getting a feel for what it's like in Tennessee,
Right.
Small town living and stuff like that. So I think that really kind of helps later in life when he starts writing his own stories.
Right. To round him out a little bit.
Right. Now, Tarantino attended a majority black school growing up in L.A., Narbonne High School in Harbor City. While there, though, he was welcomed and surrounded. He got surrounded himself in black culture, to the point where he didn't do anything that would label him a white boy, as he says. On Dax Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert, Tarantino stated, "I didn't want to associate with anything that the term white boy would be involved. No Black Sabbath, no Ozzy Osbourne, no heavy metal whatsoever." Which is very apparent in his films.
Right.
You watch Pulp Fiction from 1994, you would expect like some kind of like 90s music to be permeating that fucking soundtrack. Watch any movie around that time that was like, soundtrack heavy, and you're going to hear a lot of like Soundgarden, Alice in Chains and shit like that, but not in Pulp Fiction very much. It was mostly just old tune. In most of his movies, you have stuff like the Delphonics or the Coasters and stuff playing instead of like what's new and popular at the time. Now a lot of white guys will they'll sit there and do this all the time. They will. They'll do this all the time where they'll be like, "Oh, I have so many black friends and stuff. That's why I can act like this." And or that's why I can say this word and this word. Yeah. The thing is, like in Tarantino's case, it feels a lot more authentic than it does virtue signaling. You've probably seen this a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Where these motherfuckers will do this shit all the time.
Oh my gosh, too much. Like, what the fuck? Who? Just because your cousin's best friend's boyfriend is black doesn't mean that you get to say the N-word.
And the thing is, and it's not even just the N-word, it's just the culture he has.
Right.
Like, if you ever like listen to Tarantino, he doesn't talk black, but he has a style about him and stuff, and especially in his movies.
I can understand that. Yeah.
More just like the feeling of the movies themselves. Not saying they feel black, like Pulp Fiction does not feel black, but like when he does, like when someone who is like very white, like Tarantino is, does Jackie Brown, you expect him not to handle that very well, but he does an excellent job at that movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what I mean by it feels less virtue signaling and more authentic. And that's because he was surrounded by this culture. He
I was about to say, because he lived that life.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Take this for example. Tarantino said on the Armchair Expert, Dax Shepard's podcast again, well, I wasn't an other, you know, they were my friends. They were who were around me for 5-6 years, Tarantino told Shepard. So I talked just like them. My point of reference was exactly the same point of reference, at least pop culturally, and was the exact same point of reference. We saw the same movies. We watched the same television shows. We were listening to the same songs. So this is just how he grew up.
Right.
You know, and that's why I'm like, I don't know, you know. Like, I feel like when he says the N-word in those earlier movies over and over again, you know, it doesn't feel as disrespectful as someone, I don't know, just another white guy, you know. If Steven Spielberg started having the N-word in all his fucking movies, it feels more disrespectful for that than it does Quentin Tarantino, especially when you have someone like Samuel Jackson defending him over this.
Right. And you have to take into consideration, and I've said this time and time again, you have to consider the time that those movies came out.
Yeah, we talked about this on Pulp Fiction. It is the time frame. And when you watch a later Tarantino movie, there's not a lot of N-word, except for Django Unchained, you know, and The Hateful Eight, which are period pieces.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way they talked back then. Aside from those movies, his later movies do not contain that word. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, while largely populated by white people, because it was the 1960s, I think around the time Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is happening, the civil rights movement had just kicked off. So, you know, you have a boiler pot going on, but it hasn't exactly exploded yet. So Hollywood was not filled to the brim with black people. They were there.
Right.
But they were mostly relegated to the shadows, unlike Cliff and Rick in that movie. You know, they mostly hang out with the white Hollywood elite, you know, in that movie. But that aside the point.
Right.
That aside the point. I don't know. It feels less like a smack in the face when it comes from Tarantino when he includes that kind of stuff in his movies.
Right.
To me. Now, while in school, Tarantino was not a model student. Now, I connect with this a lot. This kind of shit is pretty much what fucking got me sent to alternative school, because I just stopped doing my work and all I would do was write fucking stories all day and songs and shit like that and just do art stuff, and just fucking at school was just, it was a waste of my time. I always felt growing up, you know, and he would do kind of the same thing. You know, he would ignore classes he was in. He would choose to write stories. He'd be watching movies. He'd skip to go watch the movies. He'd be reading comic books and all that shit. Everything else was just a waste of his time. In an early age, his mother even got fed up with him not paying attention at school and writing stories in class. You know, he said that the teachers and stuff were angry at him. Yeah, and I could imagine, because I remember that shit. I remember always getting taken to the side and being told, Lee, if you applied yourself, you could become something great. And I'm like, I am applying myself. I'm just not applying myself to fucking geometry.
Right. Whatever you want me to fucking apply myself to.
Yeah. And so I can just fucking picture it. But his mother was fucking furious at him. And she kind of just like, one day she just got so fed up. She was like, no, you got to stop this shit. This is stupid what you're doing. It's dumb. She took him to the side and was like, basically she told him that this writing thing, it's over.
Oh,
you know, you got to stop this little writing career of yours and thinking you're going to go anywhere with it. She thought he was going to be a failure.
Well, she set him up that way then, apparently.
She kind of did.
Not that he is a failure.
Well,
that's not what I mean.
And, you know, we don't know exactly what went on in the home. I mean, I'm not saying she's like the worst mother ever.
Right.
You know? I just don't know. But Tarantino, that kind of stuff really did leave a sore spot on him. In an interview with Billions creator Brian Koppelman, he said that after her discouragement, he vowed never to share a penny with his mother if he made it big. Off of his passion.
Wow.
Yeah, he vowed that, and he has kept that promise to this very day. Except for he did help her out of a jam with the IRS. You know, he did. Yeah, he did help her out of some stuff and some bills here and there. He did help her a little bit, but he did say, he was like, no car, no house. He was like, no Cadillac for mom.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he has not shared a thing. They have a strained relationship. She says she's proud of him. So I'm know.
Sure she is.
She doesn't harbor any ill will, but apparently the two don't talk as much as they could.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It is kind of sad.
He didn't have a daddy or mommy.
It is kind of sad. And we'll talk about his life now in the next part of our 2-part episode, like where he is now. But you know, he has a kid now. He has a wife, and his wife has said, you know, it's a normal household. He has a normal life and stuff like that. But anyway,
he just makes movies.
Yeah, exactly. At age 14, Tarantino had said he had already written a script called Captain Peach Fuzz and the Anchovy Bandit. Supposedly, this was based off of Hal Needham's Smokey and the Bandit from 1977. No word on how many times motherfucker is said in that thing, but I'll get back to you on that if I ever find out. Here's something, though. Tarantino has said about, you know, it kind of rings true as a lesson here. You know, after we've talked about his mom and stuff, here's what he said. There are consequences for your words as you deal with your children. Remember, there are consequences for your sarcastic tone about what's meaningful to them.
Oh, yeah.
I think we could all take that away, you know, as parents and stuff. It's true.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Stuff that we might see as fucking stupid as sin. Who knows? They might be making millions one day off of.
Maybe. I hope so.
You never know. You never know. I really think we're doing our children a disservice by like crippling their passions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, luckily, Tarantino was fucking stubborn as shit.
He's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, and he pushed forward. But, you know, a lot of people, they don't.
Right.
You know, and there can be a balance. Like, this is probably going to get me a lot of flack, but for my daughter, I tell her she needs to make sure she does her schoolwork and gets ahead in school only for school.
Right.
Because, you know, we're not sending her to a private school. We don't homeschool. She has to go to public school. And in order to stay in public school, she has to do her work and get grades. But those grades are not for me.
Right.
Like,
and that's not going to define her character. Like, that's not the end all be all of her.
No, exactly. And anything she's passionate about, I don't sit there and call stupid.
Or any of the kids.
Right. Any of the kids. We're the same with all of them.
Right.
And any of their passions that pop up, I don't call them dumb.
Right.
Like it's not good.
No.
It's not good. And passions change, you know. Maybe it would have changed, but it didn't. And now look where he's at.
Right.
You know, maybe mom would have got a Cadillac if she was a little nicer. No.
You're just trying to get that Cadillac, huh?
I am. Hey, Tarantino, can I have a Cadillac? I'm not greedy, just Cadillac. So if you haven't noticed so far, we are really laying out Tarantino's influences. Like a lot of his influences and stuff that really influenced the way he sees movies in a way and stuff like that. Now, I didn't exactly point them out, but you can look back. You know, going to an all black school and being accepted by black culture and stuff like that. And it gives him that style,
right.
I believe, you know, like I said, like it helps him do something like Jackie Brown.
Right.
It helps him do Django Unchained, you know, and it not feel like just.
And really appreciate those things versus using them as tools. Like appreciate that. And, take what he learned and observed and put it to good use.
Well, yeah, because he does something like Django Unchained, and you look at that and you see a white director doing that, you immediately think blaxploitation.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he does throw nods out in his movies, we'll get to that later, his homages to other movies. Even though he does that, he has not made a blaxploitation film.
Okay.
That's not what he does. You know what I mean? Even Jackie Brown, even though people are like, that's his blaxploitation film. It's like, no, Jackie Brown is not a blaxploitation movie. But anyway, But they were all around him, his influences and stuff. I mean, after his 15th birthday, he got grounded for shoplifting Elmore Leonard's novel, Switch, from a local Kmart.
Oh, dang.
Which he would go on to work with Elmore Leonard with Jackie Brown, the adaptation of Rum Punch, the sequel to Switch. So every little bit that happens to him just furthers his knowledge and career. And in this whole time, he's taking in movies, he's absorbing television shows, and not just the shows themselves, not just the shows themselves, but the people who are working on them. He's noticing those credits and stuff like that.
Right. He's staying for the end of the movie.
Exactly. But during his grounding, he was allowed to attend the Torrance Community Theater. So that helped him. That actually helped him learn how to act.
Nice.
Which is something I'd like to say. A lot of these indie filmmakers, or a lot of these filmmakers that are up and coming, that I watch some of their films, I can tell they don't know about acting. They don't know what acting is.
Oh,
and I think it's very important to kind of study the craft of acting. And maybe even get out there and act in some stuff, kind of absorb it so you can better help whoever you're directing.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's important.
Because how do you teach someone to do something when you don't know how to do it?
Well, exactly. It's like that with anything.
Right.
But and like I said, you all can see where this is going. It wasn't long before he dropped out of school completely. Connie, actually, his mother did not fight this at all. She was thinking he was just an inevitable failure, and this would maybe teach him a lesson, landing on his face and stuff. And it did, but it taught him how to be better at what he loved.
Right.
And you don't hear this, a lot of people, and I got told this constantly when I was growing up, oh, you want to make movies? Well, you've got to go to school. You've got to get good grades and stuff like that. Quentin Tarantino, when people write essays about him, when people write essays about directors at film school or college classes, because I took a college class on film and I wrote a whole paper on Quentin Tarantino. When people write papers, Tarantino comes up.
Oh, yeah.
Tarantino is being taught in these film schools and colleges. Tarantino did not go to college or film school.
Because you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't.
Study film. Study what you loved. Sometimes that's the way to go.
Right.
Not saying the people who go to film school, it's not a good choice. It's probably great for them, but, not for everyone.
Right.
But anyway, I hope I didn't cause a bunch of people to drop out of film school. Especially if other people are paying for it. Just finish, please.
Right.
But okay, so he's a dropout, right? And during an interview with Terry Gross of NPR, Tarantino talked about this experience. He said, I dropped out of middle school. I dropped out towards the beginning of 9th grade. And then I started studying. I started taking acting classes at first I was in a community theater at the time in Torrance, California. So I finished up my season with that community theater, just acting, acting in small part on this play or a big part on that play or stage manager or assistant stage manager in another play. And that's what I mean by get into the shit,
right?
Get into your craft, learn it. And that's kind of why I'm not jumping right out and doing a movie. I'm studying, I'm learning and stuff, even though with COVID, it's kind of hard for me to go out to our community theater and get roles and stuff like that.
Right.
A little harder, but still, you got to take it in.
Because you got to learn the small stuff to get to the bigger stuff.
Exactly.
Well, not always, but you do have to. You have to have some kind of appreciation for it.
You got to have something. You got to either have somebody mentor you or something. And I'll mention it next episode. But RZA from Wu-Tang Clan. The reason he got into directing The Man with the Iron Fist, those two movies, that was from Tarantino. He had met Tarantino when he was doing the soundtrack to Kill Bill. And
nice.
On that, Tarantino mentored him because RZA was very interested in directing his own movies. And so just with the mentorship from Quentin Tarantino, which a lot of people disagree with me on this, I think The Man with the Iron Fist, those two movies are fucking amazing action films that don't get enough credit. And, you know, just from that mentorship. And I'm not saying you have to go out and seek Tarantino.
Right.
That's not possible. I mean, he lives in Israel anyway. But yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, he did the smart thing, got the fuck out of the US. But as we all would. But I love that. But no, just find somebody. If you have someone around you that you know of, like, have them mentor you.
It's not bad to ask for help.
Yeah, exactly. Other eyes, you know. One thing I've learned by working on this podcast is work with other people.
Right.
It's detrimental to yourself to just stay alone. You know?
Right.
Work with others. Learn to work with others. It'll help you in the long run. But anyway. So some of the plays he took part in were like stuff like Romeo and Juliet, 2 + 2 makes sex. I mention all this because, like I said, you know, when people ask Tarantino if he has gone to film school and stuff, he always tells them, no, I went to films.
Right.
You know, which is the most important thing. If you're going to do movies, you need to watch movies.
You need to watch them. Yeah.
Watch every movie you can consume. That's kind of what I do. And I'm not saying I'm a good director. Fuck, I might fail at this. It's a very good possibility that I suck and I should just stay teaching. But the thing is, watch everything you can consume.
Oh, yeah.
Get everything. Watch the shittiest of shit. Watch the greats, you know, watch everything.
Yeah, watch how people fail and succeed and learn to kind of go in the middle until you do succeed, you know?
Right, exactly. I think musicians understand what I'm talking about a lot better than most people, because musicians, no matter what, they look at the music. You know?
Right.
It could be a Britney Spears song. They still look at it as music.
Because it is.
It is. It's very important to know your craft, I think. Indulge your obsessions, first of all, too. See, Tarantino was so into film, though, that he had no time for anything else. His free time was mainly devoted to screenwriting. However, you still got to make some money.
Well, yeah.
So he worked various jobs here and there. After his stint with the Torrance Community Theater, a lot of his jobs were tied to the adult film industry.
Oh, damn.
No, there's not a Tarantino porn out there somewhere.
Why did you look?
No.
I don't believe you.
I don't know if I want to see Tarantino fucking somebody, but but at age 16, he did drive around all night with the owner of a porn mag collecting quarters from the magazine racks. So there's one thing, you know. One job found him working as an usher at the Pussycat Adult Theater, which I don't think the Pussycat is there anymore in LA. But now all this sounds great if you're big on porn, you know, and a lover of the art of naked sex, you know.
Naked sex.
The carnal arts. I've heard it called that. That is the most like pompous title ever. The carnal arts. But yeah, all that sounds great if you're into that, but Tarantino's not.
Right.
And you can see that in his fucking movies.
Yeah.
You know, so many of his movies, yeah, there could be some like lewd nude scenes and stuff like that. There could be some pounding and shit. Like there's nothing. You know, that was one of the things we really mentioned when we did the movies. There really is no sex in those movies. There's no nudity.
Right. And I'm not missing it.
Exactly. You have so much going on in his films where it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
You know, he's even said that, you know, it just doesn't, that's not the story. That's not where the story goes. That's not what I write.
Right.
And that's fine. That's another thing that when you listen to Tarantino speak, that's kind of what he mentions. Not in those words, but like he kind of makes it very obvious that like stick with what you're strong at.
Right.
You know, like me, I'm not going to write a rom-com. Anything I probably write or do movie-wise is probably not going to be like romantic or sex. I can't write sex to save my life. What do you say? You know, right. What the fuck do you do? But anyway,
I can only imagine what you would do.
Right. But that is the dream, you know. You know, he's working an usher at a theater. That is the dream of a movie buff when you're a teen, you know, get a job at the theater, see movies for free on your time off. But the irony was Tarantino got a job at a theater showing movies he couldn't care less about. But
He was still around film, though.
Yeah, it was sort of. Yeah, it's film. It's film. It's art.
It's
We're gonna
art.
say pornography is art, and Tarantino doesn't hate porn. He's just not a big fan of consuming it a lot.
Right.
Like I said, I think that translates to our convos and stuff on the past episodes we've already done.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that.
One job, though, would be the dream outlet, a video store.
A Blockbuster per se?
No Blockbuster. Blockbuster took out this video store, I believe. But at 22, Tarantino landed a job at Video Archives in Manhattan Beach, California. Now, it was here where he met Roger Avery. And we talked about Roger Avery on Pulp Fiction.
Did we?
Yes. The two co-wrote it.
Okay.
But Video Archives, that could be a podcast in itself. Video Archives was owned and managed by Lance Lawson and Rick Humbert. It was a legendary video store, a video arc, as fans like to call it. It was this tiny little video store located in one of those mini mall strip type places.
Oh, yeah.
We had a ton of those growing up. Just these little mom and pop kind of video stores. None that were as epic as this.
Right.
You had Roger Avery and fucking Quintin Tarantino working at the video store. Could you imagine going in there, getting yelled at Tarantino about movies? I would have fucking loved it. Or the shit that I grew up on, the video stores and stuff, were so... they didn't have a lot of film buffs working at them. It was mostly just a lot of people who had to have a job and didn't like being there, man. The only one that was any good, was this small little mom and pop joint in Jinx where I grew up. It did not last long. But when you'd go in there, there would always be this one guy who would always sit there and tell you what's good, what's new out, what you need to watch. Those kind of guys. I miss those kind of guys. This tiny little video store was the place that was like a dream job for Tarantino. It was barely enough room to squeeze past other customers, but most of its inventory was made up of these really hard to find and obscure titles. The staff was pretty much composed of all film nuts, with Tarantino becoming the biggest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he started as a customer, but ended up working there for about 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah,
Damn.
Yeah. Like I said, his dream job. He would, of course, deliver these high energy and often forceful movie recommendations to the customers. Like I said, I don't think you ever got to experience this, but there would be those dudes, the one dude, you would walk in and immediately he'd fucking, what you need to watch? Oh, don't watch Forrest Gump. This is shit. Don't watch this. You're renting this.
Right.
What you need to watch.
I watched this last night and it was amazing.
Yeah, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch Foxy Brown. Check Pam Grier out in this one. And if you like that, go on to the I really wish I existed during this time. Like I said, he would deliver these recommendations to customers, and they would have these staff-only film festivals after closing time, where they'd get together and just fucking watch movies all night. He even programmed. They used to have this a wall of videos that the staff would pick, like staff recommends.
Oh, that's cool.
And stuff. And Quentin Tarantino programmed a lot of it, like the recommendation section.
Oh, yeah.
Of his recommendation game, Tarantino said this: I could definitely push the stuff that I liked or what I thought was interesting and challenging. For the most part, I tried to gear it towards the customer. A housewife comes in and say she wants something. I am 24 and she's 54. So I'm not going to go for Give Her Eraserhead or Forbidden Zone or some kung fu movie. If she likes Tom Hanks, I'm not going to steer her towards The Bachelor Party, but I could very well still steer her towards Nothing in Common. Have you seen Nothing in Common with Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason? That kind of shit that he would do. And he was really good that way.
Tailor it to the person. I like that.
Yeah. And like I said, when you'd go into a Blockbuster, and I'm really not dissing on Blockbuster. I know a lot of people hate me for that. I got into fights online about it.
Oh, damn.
Because Blockbuster was great. It was the only place some of us could go to. I understand that. It's a lot of what people grew up on. They didn't know anything else because a lot of people grew up watching movies, going to the video store around the time Blockbuster took completely over. And there were no more mom and pop stores, And that was towards, I think, the late 90s. Blockbuster was just fucking everywhere.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
it was done. There was no mom and pops. They couldn't stay the fuck open.
Yeah, that's true because Blockbuster was such a big name. And I'm surprised we still have family videos.
We don't. They went under. They exist as a website now.
Oh, you told me that.
Yeah, Family Video is gone, and what they do now is they sell movies secondhand on their website.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But we still had them for a long time after Blockbuster.
We did, and okay, so if you guys know me, you know that I stay away from a lot. Well, before we did this podcast, I was not on social media.
Right.
I had a Facebook just to keep up with friends and family from other places, you know, but that was it. I hated social media. I hated the internet, really.
Still do.
Yeah. The only thing I would do is message boards and maybe like look up stuff to learn about, learn about movies and stuff. That's what I use the internet for. And so I didn't know anything about Family Video. And I'm just driving down the road one day over on Memorial, in fact, here in Tulsa. I was driving down the road and I look to my right and I just see Family Video, and it's a fucking video store. I thought I had wandered into the Twilight Zone.
And it's been there for fucking years.
Because it was 2016. And I'm like, what the fuck? There's a fucking video store. I think I called you.
Yeah.
I was like, I found a fucking video store. You're like, yeah, Family Video. What? Nobody told me this? Nobody told
the
me?
building that's been there since we've been fucking born?
Yeah, you're like, it's been there quite some time. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Because I'm thinking I need to call Brittany because I think maybe I got lost somewhere and I've ended up in some topsy-turvy world and I need to get out. Like, you're going to have to consult a fucking magician and get me the fuck out of this world. But
I need to call Bruce Campbell.
Right, but that was surprising. And of course I went in there.
Of course.
I would always go into Family Video, even when I was out and about. Just go into Family Video and browse a video store. Oh, my heart. Oh, shit. Yeah, I miss it. I miss browsing.
You could
video store.
You could go browse the Red Box.
It's not the same.
I know.
It's all digital now, Like, it's not the fucking same. It's not the same as what Video Archives probably was,
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Now, during a party during this time, which, by the way, Tarantino, just by working at Video Archives, he was getting known around town. He would go to the fucking theater to see a movie and they'd be like, hey, there's the Video Archive, boys. Hey, Tarantino.
Oh, dang.
He was getting known for his recommendations and shit. And during a party, that he was having in LA, he also met Lawrence Bender during this time. And we talked about Bender during Pulp Fiction and stuff like that. He's collaborated with Bender for a while. Now, Lawrence Bender encouraged him to write a screenplay. And that has, in the first screenplay he wrote during this time, it was described as a 70s exploitation flick. Just straight 70s exploitation, and it never got off the ground. But in 1987, he did co-write and direct his first film, My Best Friend's Birthday. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, wait, what the fuck? No, man, you're probably all kicking yourself in the ass saying, I thought Reservoir Dogs was his first. Has Leigh had a stroke? Is he smelling toast? No. No, I get you. The answer is you can't. And stop kicking yourself in the ass, please. That's not healthy for you. The film, My Best Friend's Birthday, was written by Tarantino and Craig Hayman while the two worked at Video Archives. And it was about a guy who is trying to give his best friend the best birthday ever after his girlfriend left him.
Oh,
but it's been said to be straight comedy.
Okay.
Yeah. But sadly, due to the film lab fire, the 70-minute long film was burnt up and only 36 minutes still exist today.
Oh.
Was the story that was told. See, in a book, My Best Friend's Birthday, the making of a Tarantino film, written by Andrew J. Roche, it was revealed that in reality, a few prints were just misplaced and Tarantino was just unsatisfied with the ending and all this shit. And so he just left it unfinished. He abandoned the thing.
He's like, fuck this.
Yeah. He just left it unfinished. And the fire thing was all a rumor because Tarantino thought it just sounded interesting.
Okay.
He will do this. and I don't know if he started this rumor per se, but he will do this. He will start rumors about what his next project will be just to fuck with people.
That's what you were telling me.
Yeah, he will do this all the fucking time. To the point where when he announces a movie, I don't believe it. I'm like, nah.
Nope.
Nah, you just fucking with everybody. Which he's even said, he was like, well, you know, sometimes you make up shit to get out of things. Oh, man.
Is he a psychopath?
I don't know. If he is, I am. The thing is, Tarantino has not said that he wouldn't return to complete the film one day. So, you know, maybe. But that's to be seen. What wasn't... What? Now, all this sounds pretty cool, right? You're working at a video store, you're getting into movies a little bit at a time and stuff like that. Nothing's really taken off, but you're farting around. You're programming movies. People know you as the video store guy. You know what I mean? It sounds like a fucking great life.
Right.
And it would have been. You know, one of the things that was not good about this time was that Tarantino was losing his ambition.
Oh, no.
Yeah. While working at Video Archives, Tarantino, in an interview with Kevin Smith, you know, he said, for 3 years, it was really great. The case could be made that it was really too terrific. I lost all my ambition for the first 3 years, and I stopped trying to act and stopped trying to direct.
Oh.
You know, eventually it got to the point where Video Archives was close to caving due to Blockbuster. The Blockbuster takeover and stuff like that. Video Archives was going under. Quentin loved it so much, he tried to convince all the employees to chip in $6,000 to save the video store. That's how much he loved it.
Oh, wow.
And it almost worked, but nobody was really fucking interested. He said he almost did it, but nobody was fucking taking the bait. Nobody cared that much like he did. And, we almost didn't get Tarantino the filmmaker. That little bit right there of just no one thinking it was a good idea, that gave us Quentin Tarantino movies. You know, like Quentin Tarantino said, nobody was interested. I loved the place. I was really, really invested in it. And the truth of the matter is, if we had done that, I may not have made Reservoir Dogs. I would have been working at and owning Video Archives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now he would, when Video Archives would eventually go under, as all the stores do, you know, Tarantino, he bought their entire stock. He bought their entire inventory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is, I think he said was over 6,000 titles.
I guarantee it was.
Just to add to his movie collection. Which, by the way, Tarantino is not big on modern technology. You know, he still records movies off of a VCR.
What?
Yes, he still records movies just to add to his collection on videotape.
Wow.
Yeah. And he buys DVDs, Blu-rays and stuff like that, but he's fine with VHS as well. He doesn't have voicemail. He has an answering machine.
Okay.
So if you call at a certain time and that answering machine's full up, you're done. But no, you know, he's very much just, I wouldn't say stuck in the past. He's just comfy.
Right.
Which kind of I'd probably be the same way, honestly. If I had all that money, fuck it. Well, who needs social media?
So he's not going to see our tweets?
Probably not. Probably his manager or somebody will. Somebody might. I don't know. If he says anything about this, that would be amazing.
Right. Can he like a tweet?
I would take a fuck that guy. He didn't get most of it right. But luckily, while working at the video store, he was still writing. You know, that never went away. And with his ambition back after Video Archives was done, that's where he worked on 2 screenplays in particular with Roger Avary. Also a third, which we will get to. But the 2 screenplays in particular were True Romance and Natural Born Killers. In 1986, he got his first Hollywood gig working with Roger Avary as production assistants on Dolph Lundgren's exercise video Maximum Potential.
Oh my God. An exercise video.
Yeah, I wasn't really alive during the 80s, but if you go back and look, every celebrity had an exercise video. Arnold had an exercise video. Dolph Lundgren had an exercise video. Just everybody did.
Suzanne Summers.
I
think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you $100 Suzanne Summers had some videos. Linnea Quigley had an exercise video during this time. Everybody was doing these things. So he had a gig on that, and he even got a bit part. And this is very relevant. He even had a bit part on The Golden Girls, playing an Elvis Presley impersonator in the episode Sophia's Wedding Part 1. So if you go look up that episode, that Elvis impersonator, there's a young Quentin Tarantino. His first acting role. I know I say it's very relevant because we just lost Betty White.
We talked about it in the top of the show.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
God, that was just one last chunk of fuck you 2021 had, didn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I want to know what she knew that we didn't know, or that we don't know.
She got, I don't know, man. I think B. Arthur talked to her in Force Ghost and was probably like, fuck, you got to get off this planet. It's about to die. you want to leave now. Oh, okay. Fuck them then. Let's go.
I'll be there for New Year's to have a drink of champagne.
Man, and I will say, if heaven fucking exists, I don't believe in heaven, but if it does, just thinking about all the Golden Girls back together enjoying cheesecake. That's a good time.
Oh,
that's the heaven you want to go to. But anyway, in 1990, after these little gigs and stuff and him getting his ambition back, Tarantino would leave video archives for good. While working for Cinetel Productions, though, known at the time for they were producing films like 976 Evil and Tripwire. Okay, mostly known to me. But Quentin Tarantino, he got the screenplay of True Romance into the hands of Tony Scott. Now, we've done a Tony Scott film before, The Hunger. You remember that?
Yes.
With David Bowie and stuff.
How could I forget that?
And of course, Tony Scott, I think just before this, he had just got done with Top Gun. He's top of his game at this point. And this was a big get for Tarantino, just to sell this screenplay. And it would eventually be released in 1993. But first, and while still working for Cinetel, and with his money from Lundgren's ab workout video, playing Elvis on The Golden Girls, and of course optioning off the rights to True Romance, Quentin got back with friend Lawrence Bender, and he was able to fund the film that would spark his career, Reservoir Dogs.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Now, have you seen, we talked kind of a bit about Reservoir Dogs. We'll end up probably doing it on this show at some point. But did we talk about whether you've seen it or not? I think you said you felt like you've seen it.
I feel like I have seen it. But do I remember it? No. Does it have the guy from The Walking Dead in it?
No.
Then what movie am I thinking of?
I don't know.
You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know. No idea.
Hold on. Let me look it up. No, I have not seen this movie. Okay. I'm looking at the actors here. Nope, not seen it.
Okay, we'll end up watching it. It's good. Now, Reservoir Dogs dates back to Tarantino's video archives days. Like I said, there was a third one he was working on, and he had worked on that story all this time and originally planned to shoot it with buddies for $30,000 on 16 millimeter film in black and white, with Bender playing a police officer chasing Mr. Pink, played by Tarantino. But Bender had given the script to his acting teacher, who loved it so much he shared it with his wife, who then gave it to her friend, fucking Harvey Keitel.
Nice.
And here's another point, artists and creators, make sure you make friends with everybody. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
You never know, because without Harvey Keitel, we may not have the Reservoir Dogs we got, because Keitel loved the fucking script. In an interview with Empire, Tarantino explained where the idea from that came from. The tight paranoia-like story in Reservoir Dogs. He said, I'd had this idea in my head about a film that doesn't take place during the robbery, but in the rendezvous afterwards. When I worked at the video store, we had this one shelf that was like a revolving film festival, and every week I would change it. David Carradine one week, Nicholas Ray week, or swashbuckler movies. And one time I had heist films like Rafifi and Top Copy and the Thomas Crown Affair. And I started taking them home, and it was in the context of seeing a heist movie every night that I put my head around what a neat genre that would be to redo. And he set out to do just that. You know, Tarantino, instead of writing on a computer, by the way, you know, a lot of people were writing on computer word processors during the time. He went to a stationery store, bought notebooks and pens, and for 3 weeks he wrote this script. Again, he was just going to shoot this thing with buddies. But now that it had made the rounds, there Tarantino was returning home to check his answering machine, hearing none other than Harvey Keitel expressing his interest in the films. Harvey was over the fucking moon, saying he hadn't seen characters written like this in years. And Quentin to Empire stated it was wild, because Harvey had been one of my favorite actors since I was 16 years old. I'd seen him in Mean Streets and Taxi Driver and stuff, and I didn't write the part for Harvey because I thought it'd probably be, you know, my Uncle Pete.
Right.
Which is hilarious. And Harvey Keitel jump-started the budget, getting it up from $30,000 to about $1.5 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel put some of his own money into this. Not only his own money.
That's a lot of fucking money to jump from.
Yes. It was a fucking fire break, man. It's what you want. A lot of this stuff plays out like classic Hollywood stories, you know, even though we're only talking about like the late 80s to 90s.
Right.
You know, this is like old school stuff.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, Harvey Keitel was a big draw. You know, that's what got a lot of people coming towards this movie, being like, okay, this is serious. Harvey Keitel's here.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so Keitel also paid the fees so Lawrence Bender and Tarantino could host casting. And that's how they fucking got like Lawrence Tierney, you know, a big actor, Steve Buscemi. They got Michael Madsen, you know,
They
lot
got
of big
everybody.
guys. Yeah. Now I could devote 2 hours to the film Reservoir Dogs, but we can cover that entire movie at another time.
Right.
What I will say is Reservoir Dogs really had an impact on audiences during the Sundance Film Festival where it premiered. And with that movie, while not being a giant hit in the US, it did really good on video and overseas. And it made around 2.9 million.
Oh my gosh.
And it put Quentin Tarantino on the most talked about up-and-comers in Hollywood among the 1990 indie cinema boom. This is something that not a lot of people talk about outside of film buffs and stuff, is in the 1990s, there at the beginning, indie films took off. They hit like fire. You know, like I keep saying, I've said this over and over again, especially in Pulp Fiction, where I think if we're getting into the period now again where indie films are going to take off.
Oh, yeah.
This is where it starts happening. But
so at that point, are they still called indie films then?
Yes, they are indie films, independent cinema. In fact, the indie cinema boom of the early 90s is defined by the success of independent films saw not just through film festivals and circuits where they're usually showed, but also the box office. You know, you saw stuff that would have premiered to lots of talk at like a Toronto Film Festival, loading up the multiplexes.
Okay.
You know, stuff that you wouldn't expect. It was also a time when you had bigger stars popping up into these things, causing the independent film they would appear in to get much bigger audiences than a normal independent film at the time.
Oh, okay. I see.
You know, we talked about this during our episode on Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street, while it's crazy to think of now, was an independent film.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. New Line Cinema was an independent film company.
Okay. I know we're off of this subject, but I have a question and it popped in my brain. Is there feet in Reservoir Dogs?
No.
Okay.
No. Reservoir Dogs has no women in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there is a mention of women. In fact, there's a whole talk about Madonna. There's a whole intro scene of Madonna, which really, I think, sets the landscape of what Tarantino's work was going to be, because it's a whole drawn out talk about how the song Like a Virgin is more about her like getting fucked by a big cock.
Oh my God.
It is wonderful. Madonna even said she loved that intro. Now, like I said, the indie film cinema boom, man. It was around this time that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1990 grossed over $100 million fucking dollars.
Oh my God.
Which sounds silly, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was an independent film by New Line Cinema at the time, and it would become the highest, the most successful indie film to that point.
Wow.
Like I said, it's crazy to think about now, because a movie that, I don't know, it's on TV all the time. I have like 4 versions of it. It's not a movie you would think, wow, that had an impact on cinema.
Right.
But it did. And Miramax, of course, were up in the front of this, you know, as well, with films like Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. And of course, Kevin Smith's knockout Clerks.
Oh,
You know, that was
yeah,
from Miramax. Yeah. In fact, Miramax and New Line started the boom, it can be argued. You know, after their string of hits, giant studios like Disney, who would buy Miramax for $60 million in 1993, Turner Broadcasting, who bought New Line in 94. It's not like, you know, these bigger studios started getting in on this. You know, this indie boom. And it's not like they were trying to make indie films the new standard. No, it was more of a goal to shut down and take over the indie film market, which was starting to overtake the mainstream box office.
Yeah, they didn't want that to happen.
No. You can't have New Line making more money than us, so let's buy them. Right. There's capitalism for you.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, now Disney owns everything. They might own us now. I don't want to fucking know. But
we do pay them every month.
The fucking mouse is going to come to my house and break my kneecaps. But stop bad-mouthing me, you piece of shit. But
can you not do that so well? That's weird.
That was really creepy. Is that a good Mickey Mouse impersonation?
It was pretty good.
Ha ha. Ha ha.
Okay, stop.
Suck my dick.
Stop it.
Fuck you. Anyway, he slowly, the more I do that, he slowly becomes Jersey for some reason.
It sounded more like Mario at the end there.
It's me. Oh, fuck, God. Yeah, we got to get off this. But
I was trying.
But all these big budget studios even started indie companies of their own, you know, Sony Pictures Classics, Searchlight Pictures, Paramount Vantage, which went down in 2013, Focus Features, and even Turner Broadcasting's Castle Rock Entertainment were all like independent film studios that these companies started. Of course, the smartest thing Turner Broadcasting ever did was buy New Line and continue with them. You know, as we got colossal comedic films like The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, 2 of the biggest Jim Carrey fucking films ever. Which, Brittany, you're not a Jim Carrey fan?
I like Jim Carrey. I don't like The Mask.
You don't like The Mask? Okay, that's funny to hear. Like, I always hear people talk up The Mask like it's the best thing ever.
And you know what? No,
I'm neutral on The Mask. I prefer Dumb and Dumber.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, you know what? I like Jim Carrey movies that I like, which is only like Liar Liar and The Grinch.
You like his later, like, not when he started doing drama, like The Number 23 or anything like that.
Right.
But you like the stuff like that pre-drama period where he's like doing some drama work in his comedy movies, but they're not quite as silly as Ace Ventura. You know?
My God. Don't get me started on that movie either.
By the way, I don't know if any of you guys have watched Ace Ventura lately, but that movie has not aged well.
Oh, really?
Oh, boy. There's a blowjob joke in that movie.
Nice.
He's getting a BJ. I thought it was a kid's movie. But anyway.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I thought it was because I saw it at a young age. I do not remember the blowjob scene. I don't know what happened. But Castle Rock, also owned by Turner, also released The Shawshank Redemption in 1994. And of course, Miramax came out with Tarantino's Pulp Fiction in 94.
In 90, that came out in 94. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I was only 4.
I think I was 5. Am I a year older than you?
Oh my God, you were 3 years older than me.
I am?
Yes, you're going to be 35 and I just turned
Jesus
32.
Christ. I still feel like a 16-year-old. But now Tony Scott's True Romance, written by Tarantino, had already been released in 93, and Natural Born Killers had been bought and butchered by Oliver Stone and Company to be released in 94 as well. By the way, more on Natural Born Killers, Tarantino got story credit for that and mentioned in an interview once that he wished the film all the best, but he kind of disowned the final product just because it's not the same as he wrote. Like, it's not the same story whatsoever. I think it's good. It's a good movie, but you can totally see where they kind of just took Tarantino's story and warped it.
Oh, shit.
In fact, he would release his original screenplay as a book. Not as a book. It's just a book with the screenplay in it. You know, it's not a novel or anything.
Oh, okay. He just published the screenplay.
Yeah. He published that, and you can go read that. You can buy it on Amazon right now. I would have preferred to see Tarantino's vision.
Of course.
Of what that movie would have been, because it was pretty cool. But like, Natural Born Killers is still a very good movie with Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis.
Oh, I like Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, he's very scary in that movie.
Nice.
He's very scary. He does a great job. But also because of the drama between the film and Tarantino, Jane Hampshire and Don Murphy, they wrote a tell-all book, and they originally optioned the screenplay and produced the film, which Oliver Stone then directed. This book pissed Tarantino off, and he actually assaulted Murphy in a restaurant one time.
My gosh.
He punched him in the face.
Wow.
In West Hollywood, California in 1997. But as for Tarantino's next movie, which, by the way, I think they settled that in court. And
I was going to say, did he go to jail?
I think he had to pay him like $400,000.
Oh my God.
And this was 97, by the way, if you guys were wondering. Tarantino was already making plenty of money. So
right.
I think he had said one time it was worth it. He paid for it. It was just fine. But as for Tarantino's next movie, he would create not just a great film, but also change pop culture as we know it, you know? Pulp Fiction, whether you like it or not, is in our pop culture aurora. You know, you can't escape the fucking references like we talked on our episode.
Mm-mm.
Now, we talked at length about the making of Pulp Fiction, but we only kind of brushed the surface on like a few elements, like the fact that after the groundbreaking entrance into Hollywood that was Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino was approached by Hollywood to direct a ton of other projects, you know? They see this up-and-coming guy, you know, they're like, well, let's get him to direct some of our projects we got hanging around.
Yeah, we want him in our stuff.
Yeah, including 1994 Speed.
What?
Yeah, he almost directed Keanu Reeves in Speed.
That's
and
awesome.
Sandra Bullock. That would have been quite the different movie, wouldn't it?
Yes.
There would have been like an hour of Keanu Reeves just talking.
We don't need that.
It's not his strong point. And he almost directed Men in Black.
Wow.
Yeah, but of course, as we know, he retreated to Amsterdam to write Pulp Fiction. Now, he spent about 3 months there off and on, you know, in a one-room apartment. No phone, no fax, just writing. Avery would visit and call him over, you know, he'd be over there too with him.
Right.
And they would contribute to the script. I don't have a straight story of how much either one of them contributed. So I'm not going to just guess here.
Right.
But it is kind of debated on who put more in.
Why does it matter?
It doesn't really, besides Tarantino taking most of the credit.
Yeah.
So there's a gray area there. But now as for his writing, you know, we're going to talk about Tarantino's writing here for a minute. It was a fucking mess. You know, I told you he prefers to write notebooks, you know, notebooks, napkins, fucking anything he can write on. And when he returned to Los Angeles, he had handed it over to his friend and typist, Linda Chin. Now, when Tarantino met Chin, she had been working as an unofficial script consultant for Robert Towne. Definitely of note would have been Chinatown, you know, directed by Roman Polanski. Okay. So she was helping him out. Chinatown was nowhere near that. You guys know the movie Chinatown. This is way before. But she had been working with Robert Towne, and she still was. Now, this is kind of common because I said unofficial because this is kind of common for a lot of screenwriters, especially the genius ones. They always have this ace up their sleeve. And this is what I meant by earlier when I said always make friends and work with other people.
Oh, of course.
Because you never know how it's going to turn out. For Robert Towne, it was Linda Chin. That was his secret weapon. And of course, Quentin used this for Pulp Fiction. To Vanity Fair, Chin said Quentin thought this dynamic of genius screenwriter and secret weapon was amusing. and he kind of needed it. Tarantino has said that his first drafts of Pulp Fiction looked more like the diaries of a madman than a screenplay.
So she just transcribed everything that he wrote?
Okay, so I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
Not really transcribing as much as just fucking cleaning this mess up.
Okay. Much like what I would do if you wrote a movie or when you write a movie.
Fucking exactly. Jesus. Now, first of all, when he began talking to her, it was just kind of reading her pages over the phone.
Okay.
Simple stuff like that. Then came the midnight dinners where they would talk about he would tell her, read her stuff from there. They'd have dinner and hang out and stuff. They kind of became friends. And Chin would pick him up actually because of he was barred from driving at the time because he had some bad parking tickets.
Uh-oh.
Her biggest task though was filtering through his writing. Chin said to Vanity Fair in an interview, his handwriting is atrocious. He's a functional illiterate, and I was averaging about 9,000 grammatical errors per page.
Oh my God.
After I would correct them, he would try to put them back in because he liked them.
What?
Now, Lawrence Bender, who was producing this thing along with Jersey Films, Danny DeVito's thing, and TriStar Pictures as well, was pressing Tarantino for the script. And it was late. He was late in turning this thing in. So to get the job done, Chin moved Tarantino in with her at a screenwriter's house who she was dog sitting for in the Beverly Hills. And he had arrived with just the clothes on his back and crashed on this couch, and the two would work together. Chin worked without pay on one condition, that Tarantino would rabbit sit Honey Bunny, her pet rabbit, which Tarantino didn't, and it died. But
oh no!
But he does pay homage in the movie, and that's
I was about to say, is that where Honey Bunny comes from?
That's where Amanda Plummer's character's name comes from, Honey Bunny.
I'm sorry, I killed your rabbit.
I know. You want me to rabbit sit? Now, Chin said she never felt like she was working on a modern masterpiece, but she would go on to be the unit photographer for the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But his writing style. Now, if you ever read one of these scripts away from the movie itself, it reads more like a novel.
Okay.
Yeah. You read a normal movie script from a lot of other directors and stuff, and they kind of they differ from the movie. There's a lot of changes and stuff like that. But usually when you read a Tarantino script, it's exactly what you've seen on the screen, and sometimes more so. There's more detail. So it's like reading the novel that the movie's based off of when you read one of these screenplays, which explains why I broke my mother's printer when I was younger by printing out From Dusk Till Dawn and Pulp Fiction, which are like 300 pages each.
Oh my God. I can just imagine being like halfway through it. Oh, fuck, I got to put more paper in this.
Yeah. Which, the size of Pulp Fiction was even bigger than 300 pages. I told that blurb in our Pulp Fiction episode about how they gave the screenplay to Harry Weinstein.
Yeah.
At Miramax, and he was like, what the fuck is this? The phone book? It was huge. My mother was furious. But Tarantino has said that that's how he starts his stories. He starts them out as novels, not in a format, just in a novel form. And then, he'll turn it into the script formatting just to turn it into everybody else. His blueprints to him feel more like literature. I kind of align with this because I fucking hate being confined to screenplay formats. Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but the screenplay formatting is fucking nonsense.
Oh,
I
really?
don't like it. I think it inhibits your story. So, because a lot of people you hear, well, if I'm going to write a screenplay, I better get myself the most fanciest screenwriting equipment known to man. I got to pay $60 a month. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Do it.
Write your story first. Beef that fucking story up.
Right.
Like I said, but you're going to change camera angles and shit while you're shooting. So why not focus on that story?
And then you have enough to go off of.
Right. And then you just format it for everyone else.
Right.
Dialogue is the meat of a good Tarantino story. It's how his action and story elements stay glued together. Tarantino once said, "My head is a sponge. I listen to what everyone says. I watch little idiosyncratic behavior. People tell me a joke and I remember it. People tell me an interesting story in their life and I remember it. When I go and write my new characters, my pen is like an antenna. It gets that information, and all of a sudden these characters come out more or less fully formed. I don't write their dialogue. I get them talking to each other."
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which he said, somebody asked him one time, and I believe this was on the Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. Someone asked him one time, like, how is it now? Like, do you have to force yourself to create characters? And he was like, I think I've been doing it for so long. It's like picking apples.
Right. Which one am I going to choose
just start
today?
popping characters up. And he's like, it's hard to explain to him, but I like that, I like that. I like that approach to dialogue, as in, I'm going to get these two characters together. Now, what are they going to talk about? What are they talking? Where are they? Maybe they're talking about the menu. Maybe they're talking about this and that. And then things start unfolding after that.
Right.
And as we've seen, once his characters do get to talking, that's truly when the real fucking magic begins.
Yes.
To me, he's probably the best modern writer who hasn't made a novel. Well, I take that back. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was turned into a novel by Tarantino, and it's excellent. But we'll talk about that on our next episode. Now, in fact, he said he wants to do more novels, so I'm excited to read whatever he puts out. But on to the violence. Violence is a big part of a good Tarantino story as well. Tarantino believes violence is good and it's engaging and it is in the way he does it. I was wondering, I wanted to ask you, like, is there a difference between Tarantino's form of violence than any other violence to you when you watch movies?
Other than the dialogue being in the middle of the violence.
Well, that's what's cool. And that's kind of a style that he kind of created with another one of his secret weapons, which I'll get to in a minute, the editing. Like, you edit these fast action scenes, but also there's dialogue happening and there's story during these action scenes. It's not just action for action's sake. You take a look at I know this is kind of an unfair comparison, but you take a look at a Tarantino film and say a Michael Bay movie, which the Michael Bay movies you've seen are the Transformers films.
Okay.
You take a look at those and the action scenes in that is just like, action thrill ride. There's no story happening. It's just kind of like story, action piece, story, action piece, story, action piece.
And his are very much
blended.
dialogue filled. Yeah.
Yeah, it's blended together. I feel like the action deserves to be there. I never feel like anything's gratuitous.
Right.
Even though a lot of people would disagree with me. But I think violence is good. I don't know. I like violence. Everybody likes violence. Anybody who says they don't like violence is kind of lying, or they're Bob Dolan. Luckily, he's dead. So,
oh my God. Wow. Okay. Just speak your mind there.
But, you think, I think truly to understand a lot of his style of his writing, it's good to kind of look at his influences. Like I said, as a child, Tarantino lived for movies and televisions, obsessing over details not many people obsess over, like how they were done, how they were worked on. Who's this guy? Who's the guy working behind the scenes? His heroes slowly became actors, directors, stuntmen, crew members, and character actors. He loved comic books as well. So a lot of the dialogue that he writes and stuff is inspired by a lot of stuff of what Stan Lee wrote. Jack Kirby would do the art on those early Marvel comics, but Stan Lee wrote the dialogue in most parts. You know, and yes, he does love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think I was telling you this story where he was talking about how like somebody asked him, because a lot of these directors, these old school big directors I love, but like they're kind of coming out and fighting Marvel and stuff like that, saying that Marvel movies aren't good art and stuff like that. You hear that a lot. Tarantino is negative from that. He doesn't usually do that. And that's because he likes these movies.
Right.
Like he said, he was like, I'm a huge comic book fan and I love that these movies are coming out now. He was like, I love it. He was like, I just kind of wish I wasn't in my 50s. Like, I wish it had done this before. It had been this big of a thing way back in the day when I was younger to truly appreciate. And he said, because he doesn't get to watch every one of these,
Oh, he will one day.
You think he'll ever direct a Marvel movie? That'd be interesting. Sam Raimi's directing a Marvel movie.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
You know why I say that? Because there's not enough talking in them.
Plus, I don't think Disney is going to let Quentin Tarantino come near a Marvel movie.
Oh, that'd be too much.
But a lot of people also like to say that Tarantino steals from other movies. You'll hear this a lot.
What?
I think it depends on your definition of steal. Like, yes, if he was making a movie that was shot for shot, another movie that he'd watched and loved, then yes, that would be kind of stealing. And technically that's called a remake. But but to me, these are just little homages. These are his trademarks. Inspirations
is the word I would use.
And most of the time he doesn't steal scenes. He more, if you want to call it stealing, he more steals shots from other movies. The way the cameras line up. I've talked about this in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, how he wanted those earlier scenes to look like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when Cliff arrives to Spawn Ranch. Mm-hmm. And it does. There's a whole scene where it raises up as he's walking.
I don't know. Why couldn't you use those?
You can. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
I compare it to musicians. Musicians steal like note progressions and all sorts of stuff from each other all the time.
Right.
Most of the time, nobody gets hit with a plagiarism lawsuit unless it's egregiously the same song,
Right.
Because there are all rules against that. But for the most part, yeah, sometimes they'll steal a note. Sometimes Led Zeppelin, considered one of the best heavy metal groups of all time, of the older heavy metal groups. Led Zeppelin stole pretty much their whole catalog. I mean, everything that they play is kind of based off of the blues, the Black Delta blues and stuff like that from the early 30s and stuff like that. So kind of like a musician, Tarantino is stealing, but he's not stealing complete songs. He's stealing shots, camera angles, and camera techniques.
And I don't see that that's a problem. I mean,
no.
Doesn't everybody use kind of the same not the same camera techniques, but
dude, there's a lot of other people that do this. Like this, Tarantino is not the only person who fucking does this. A lot of people do. And it's mostly because he didn't get taught by like someone at a fancy film school or something like that, or taught the generic way of making movies, and then he had to learn how to do his own shit as he went.
But like, if I made a movie right now, would I not be seeing all the same camera angles that other people have used?
Right. And Reservoir Dogs, you take his first movie, it is very much packed with that. It's the most of the homages and stuff like that. The most of what some people would call stealing. And like I said, those are his trademarks, though. Here's the thing. In 1997, Reservoir Dogs came under a bit of scrutiny. Accusations of plagiarism were brought up by a film critic, and he accused Tarantino of stealing basically 20 minutes of 1987's Hong Kong crime film City of Fire.
Oh.
If you compare the last 20 minutes of Reservoir Dogs and, well, I don't know. To me, it doesn't even look the same. But if you look at the last 20 minutes of each film, they're very identical in plot terms, and of course there are shots scattered throughout that are like directly from that movie if you want. And of course, the Mexican standoff sequence, which was in City of Fire. But here's the thing about a Mexican standoff in a Tarantino film. I don't think he's taking from City of Fire when he does that. because he's just nodding to other great films anyway. But like I said, you can't accuse him of stealing the Mexican Standoff from City of Fire when one of his favorite directors of all time is Sergio Leone. Leone, the famous director who brought us The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Tarantino loves that movie. That's one of his favorite movies. And of course, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly has that amazing Mexican standoff at the very end of the film. And a lot of his movies do end with a standoff.
Right. That's what you were saying.
Yeah. So I don't feel like it's stealing. I just think he's taking stuff he loved and putting it in his movies. Like, look, isn't this fucking cool?
Right. I think it's inspiration.
Yeah. To me, Tarantino is not making mass appealing movies, even though they are.
Right.
That's the most surprising thing. Because you take Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie has said in many interviews that he makes films for himself.
Right.
I love Rob Zombie's films. I think they're great because he makes them for himself. There's a lot of stuff in there where he's like, isn't this cool? Let's put this in the movie.
Right. I like this.
The difference, though, is Tarantino does that and it's mass appealing, which is very interesting to me, and I believe firmly that Tarantino makes a movie for himself. He doesn't make it for audiences.
Right.
He makes the story that's in his vision, not what everybody else would want to see.
I don't know. As a director, I think that's how you
I feel like that's what you want to do. You want to tell your vision.
And if they don't like it, then they don't fucking like it. Whatever.
No, exactly. I mean, Tarantino is not suffering if you're like, fuck this.
Right.
But, you would have never known about these types of shot if I hadn't told you.
Right.
So people can chill. To quote Pablo Picasso, good artists copy, great artists steal.
Oh, damn.
So edited beautifully in every Tarantino film is a shot inspired by another great movie, just for most of us film buffs, honestly, to appreciate. It's just another one of Tarantino's secret weapons. Speaking of editing and secret weapons.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Now, another secret weapon Quentin Tarantino had from the very beginning was film editor Sally Mink. Her career started with editing documentaries for CBS. Her first feature film she ever edited was a movie called Cold Feet from 1983. It was a comedy. And in the 90s, she had done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She had edited that movie. And Heaven and Earth and Mulholland Falls. She met Tarantino when he was holding interviews in 1992 for an editor. A cheap one, Sally had mentioned. And Tarantino sent her the script for Reservoir Dogs. And to her, it was fucking amazing. She said it was so amazing. And she got the call that she had the job while she was on a hike. And now she would go on to edit every one of his films up until 2010 when she tragically died.
Oh.
Yeah, they worked together on 8 films,
That's a lot.
Yeah, she died in 2010 while hiking. She had suffered a heat stroke in Los Angeles. I think when she went hiking, it was like 113 degrees or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But as Tarantino put it, the best collaborations are the director-editor teams where they can finish each other's sentences. Honestly, I feel like Mink was his only true collaborator. Because you think about this, they spent hours upon hours, months together in these editing rooms, just bringing these fucking pictures to life. The editing in a Tarantino movie, especially the stuff Sally Mink did. Now, after she passed, it would go on to her assistant, who would continue her work with Tarantino.
Good.
Yeah, so his films are still very wonderfully edited. I'm not saying there's a drop in quality, but you look at his early films and the editing is just so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
It's some of the best work you'll see in a movie at the time in the 90s, editing wise. I know a lot of people probably don't pay attention to that kind of shit, but to me, I do, camera angles, edits and stuff like that. Some of her best work, I feel like, was on Kill Bill. Those, the scene in Kill Bill Volume 1 where they're having the fight in the restaurant.
Sure.
Where she's fighting the crazy 88s.
Sure.
Fucking amazing. I'm just skipping past you. It's beautiful work.
Okay, I believe you.
I'm going to force Brittany to watch this. at some point.
Oh my gosh. I got a notification from Pluto TV because I have the app on my phone. And it was like, it said something. Oh, I should have screenshotted it. But it was like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. I was like, oh my gosh. Everybody wants me to watch this fucking movie.
I think after these months, you're going to appreciate it much more than when you first saw it.
I do agree with that. I do agree.
But anyway, yeah. So those two did some amazing stuff together, and it's sad that he lost her. I mean, she helped him develop the style that we've loved in his films all this time. You know, the dialogue-driven scenes, as well as those slowly cut scenes paired with the fast action. You know, and the dialogue over all that stuff, his signature styles, she helped him create.
Right.
You know, their last film together was Inglourious Bastards, which came out 1 year before her death. Now, we all know how Pulp Fiction went down. You know, I don't have to tell you how fucking massive of a fucking hit it was, and it would catapult Tarantino's career. I mean, like I said, even if you weren't plugged into films during the 90s, you heard of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Mad TV made fun of it. Saturday Night Live had sketches about it. They still have sometimes sketches about it. People had the car stickers. People quoted this movie all the time. Badass motherfucker wallets all over the place. It was massive. But before he would go on to do his first and only adaptation, Jackie Brown, he'd work with a longtime friend. You got any guesses? Got any guesses?
Samuel L. Jackson?
No, it's one of my other favorite directors. Now, back when Tarantino was enjoying the attention Reservoir Dogs had, he was at the Toronto Film Festival in a hotel lobby, and he met another independent director, Robert Rodriguez.
Okay.
At the time, Rodriguez had brought the $7,000 budget indie masterpiece that is El Mariachi to the festival circuit. He was making a huge splash in the indie film market. Like, just to take a movie made for $7,000, that's the budget. Non-union crew, guerrilla style filmmaking, and to create something that would go on to earn millions.
That's big.
That is fucking impressive.
Oh, yeah.
So impressive that Robert Rodriguez would go on to inspire tons of other fucking filmmakers, indie filmmakers, to make these low budget films. You know, he even wrote a book about this, and he teaches people how to make films on a budget.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And, but as they talked, you know, I think they had done also a panel discussion about violence in movies as well at the Toronto Film Festival. But as they talked in this hotel lobby, Tarantino told Rodriguez, you know, he mentioned, he was like, you know, my next project is gonna be Pulp Fiction. You're gonna like that.
You're gonna like this one.
Yeah. Now, this wasn't a one-off encounter, however. When Rodriguez got back to the Sony lot in Los Angeles, he found that Tarantino had an office right next to his.
Nice.
They would hang out at each other's house. They were buddies.
Oh, I thought you were saying they were fucking.
No, they weren't fucking. I don't think so. If they were, you know, good for them. But they weren't fucking. I didn't. You guys don't be saying I said they were fucking. I don't want Robert Rodriguez coming to my house and murdering me late at night, or sending, I don't know, Antonio Banderas to murder me in my sleep. But you know, this is where like a Hollywood friendship was born. You know, like I said, a lot of this plays out like a Hollywood story.
Right.
Well, it is a Hollywood story. What am I talking about? This is like magic. And again, you guys, I'm bleeding through with my love of Hollywood and stories from Hollywood. I think that's why I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so much.
Right.
Because it's this shit, you know? Now, like I said, they were friends. You know, Robert Rodriguez would say later on, he was like, at one point, I felt like I was just making movies just to see Quentin Tarantino's reaction at his house.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They would bounce ideas off of each other and stuff like that. And while they had these offices next to each other, you know, Quentin Tarantino would read him Pulp Fiction stuff, and Rodriguez would read him stuff from Desperado at the time. And of course, they would go on to collaborate First on the film Four Rooms. Now Four Rooms, it's okay if you haven't heard of it, but it is a very good anthology film. It was co-directed, co-written by Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Alexandra Rockwell, and Allison Anders. It was loosely based on the short fictions of Roald Dahl. But, of course, we know the film that really combined their talents was From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
Yes. This is a film that you saw before you even knew anything about Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
It's true. Before I knew you.
It was, honestly, I hate to admit it, but this was my first touch of Tarantino. This is the first thing I ever saw of his.
Not Reservoir Dogs, huh?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'd seen Reservoir Dogs like on the video store shelf, but I never rented it. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know stuff like this existed. Like you watch a fucking vampire flick. Yeah, I was watching horror movies my whole life, but you hear, you're watching this movie that your sister brings in. It says, hey, you might like this. And so you're watching this movie and it's a crime thriller. Fun. I'm having a good time. This is good. It's got that guy from ER in it. I'm having a blast. This is fun. And then fucking vampires come out and you're like, oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. This movie's so fucking cool.
Yes.
It fucking hyped me up to the point where, like I said, after that, I watched Reservoir Dogs first, then I watched Pulp Fiction,
Nice.
And I was immediately a fucking fan. Like I said, I tried to print out both these scripts and it just killed that poor fucking mid-90s printer. Imagine, you guys, if you will, those tiny little inkjet printers from like the 90s,
I can't believe the ink lasted that long.
She had an extra cartridge I threw in there.
Oh.
Yeah, I used up all the ink.
You just used and abused that thing.
And I broke it on the last page of From Dusk Till Dawn. I had to write it from the internet. Like I hand wrote the last few pages.
Oh my God.
Oh, but anyway. But so surprisingly enough, even though this is like after Pulp Fiction and shit, surprisingly enough, back in the early days, this was his first paid gig as a writer. Robert Kurtzman, special effects and makeup artist and founding member of K&B, the effects group, conceived the story and even wrote a treatment. And one of his producer friends pointed out that this young up-and-comer whose scripts Natural Born Killers and True Romance were making big waves, he was an up-and-comer, so he should have Tarantino write this for him. So Kurtzman hired Tarantino to write the script for $1,500.
Wow, that's it.
Yeah. And this is way back in the day. And this was one of the events that also helped him quit his job at a video store. Now, $1,500, man. Now, Tarantino did have one stipulation. K&B would help with the makeup on Reservoir Dogs, the ear scene in particular. Which you don't know much about. There's a whole ear cutting scene that we'll get to when we do Reservoir Dogs. But K&B would actually work on several Tarantino's movies from then on out. Now, the film not only cemented the magic that could happen when Rodriguez and Tarantino crossed the streams,
What?
Yeah, that's right. It also kind of highlights Rodriguez and Tarantino's problems with Hollywood unions. They've butted heads with the unions quite a bit. Robert Rodriguez a little bit more than Tarantino. Most of all Robert Rodriguez's early films were non-union, and From Dusk Till Dawn was no exception. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees weren't thrilled to hear that there is an $18 million film shooting in Los Angeles with a non-union crew. Oh boy.
Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Please explain.
Okay. I'll expand on that. Basically, when you shoot a movie, it is common practice to work through the union.
Okay.
And we know what unions are. They protect employees, they make sure they have health insurance. They make sure they get paid properly. Mm-hmm. Not saying that Robert Rodriguez was treating people unfairly, but, when you work with a non-union crew, things, it's cheaper, but there's a little, maybe some unsafe practices going on.
I see.
As we've seen with Rust.
I knew you were going to say that.
Alec Baldwin situation.
Yeah.
Where one person was injured and one person was killed. As we see, it can lead to disaster.
Right.
Not saying Robert Rodriguez would have let that happen, but I don't know. You know, you never know. And with a movie that's cost $18 million, or that's kind of scary.
Right.
The whole now the IATST, God damn it, IATSE. They tried to bring the non-union crew into the union, but that reportedly would have cost the producers and stuff another $300,000. Now, the union kind of disputed this, saying it was much lower, but Miramax said it was higher. But Miramax did step in, and they provided health care to all the crew members.
Nice.
And got the union off their back. But I'm not saying unions are bad.
Right.
Sometimes they can inhibit your work, but most of the time they are there for a reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm gray on the unions, knowing that any movie I'm going to make is non-union. I'm a little scared, but we got From Dusk Till Dawn in '96, and now after that little break between Pulp Fiction and, he did Four Rooms, he did From Dusk Till Dawn. We got that. We also got in between there. We also got fucking Natural Born Killers.
Dang.
And True Romance was out.
A lot of things.
Tarantino was talked about, man.
Yeah.
The Tarantino name was up and it was huge. So what to do next? That was the question. What are you going to go and do next? He was ready to move on to his next picture, but he changed things up a little bit. This time, he's going to do an adaptation of Elmore Leonard's novel Rum Punch. That would become Jackie Brown. But more on that and more on the director, Quentin Tarantino, next week. Yeah, we're leaving on a cliffhanger. When we enter Tarantino's Jackie Brown, Kill Bill, his homage to classic kung fu films, and into his revisionist period, next week on Tarantino Part 2. A few films more. I'm naming it off the Few Dollars trilogy. Fucking so much love here in this little mini series. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. So what do you think about Tarantino so far? As a person, as a director?
Well, I love him. I mean, I want him to be my friend, but not at the cost of my feet. But we'll talk more about that next.
I have no info on where the foot thing came from. I couldn't tell you. We'll talk more about feet next week, though. I have a whole story about feet.
Oh, God.
Not my personal story.
Okay.
Not my personal story, no. But I feel like doing these things is kind of important, even though it's almost a break from our normal shows.
Yeah.
Because, you're a lot more quieter during these things.
I try.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I think you'll have a lot more input next week, but I don't know. I feel like it's important to do these things because I think a lot of people don't, they watch these movies, but they take what happens in their lives, as artists for granted.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'll tell you, anything in your life that's happening can be used to make good art.
Oh, yeah.
I think anything can be. If you're an artist, take every little bit that happens. Make friends with every person you meet. Get relationships going. That's one of the things that people always say about working in Hollywood and working on movies and stuff. It's almost always about who you know now.
Oh, yeah.
Hard work is going to get you nowhere.
Be nice to people. Damn.
Be nice to people. I see so many people on Twitter who make movies and they're decent movies. I like them. But then they fucking, the first negative review, they start lashing out and then it snowballs from there. And then they're fucking cussing out fucking poor Phil Noble from Fangoria. And then Fangoria is making t-shirts making fun of you.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's not good. You're starting out your career on a sour note where everyone hates you. And now what are you going to do? You're going to end up ooh-ball. No one likes you, no matter how cool things you do. Everyone hates you. You've ruined your fucking image.
Yes, image is everything.
Yeah, be friends, be nice, be a human being to everybody. And maybe people will like to work with you because that's another thing. On a Tarantino set, we didn't cover this, but it's like a family. They have a fucking blast. People have talked about crew members and stuff talking about, shit, whoever I go to work for next is going to suck. Like,
Right.
this was so much fucking fun because he incorporates crew members' ideas. You know, he gets them in on the action and stuff like that. Every crew member is important. Like I said, you know, he grew up watching these things. He grew up respecting these movies and stuff like that, and really absorbing who creates the movie, the
Right.
true people behind the scenes. You know, it's not just the actors.
Right.
It's not just the directors. It's a team effort.
Because they wouldn't be there without the fucking crew.
Exactly. And you heard, you know, he didn't edit these himself.
Right.
You know, he had a fantastic editor he made a relationship with, that they created some amazing art. He had Chin, his secret weapon, you know, helping him with Pulp Fiction script, creating what probably was a mass of fucking words into a fucking phenomenal, groundbreaking film.
Right.
You know, it's very important to be a human being in this kind of situation.
Nice to
Yeah, be nice to be. Fuck.
Just do it.
Right, just do it. But anyway, until next week when we continue the story of Tarantino and his works and his films and his inspirations. Next week, I'll have a lot more films that influenced him, and even a list of top 11 movies that Quentin Tarantino is considered the greatest
Top
movies.
11.
Yeah, his most favorite films of all time. We'll talk about that.
Oh, dang.
But until next time, I'm Leigh Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.